Why do you feel that, like, in the medical industry, in the entire healthcare industry, that nutrition has been backburnered?
Well, absolutely. I think there's a motive. I mean, I leave it up to the individual to decide what the motive is, but I mean, they can't be that because either they're ignorant to it, which is one possibility, I suppose, but then that's pretty ignorant. So it's hard to argue that case too strongly.
Honorable marketing built on truth.
Yeah. Totally AI generated. Have fun with this.
But functional what? Phoenix rising, we're burning it down. We're sovereign, independent.
So I wrote the lyrics for it, and then isn't that funny? I wrote the lyrics, and I utilized an AI program, and I told it that I wanted it to be kind of like a rap battle takedown, like Eminem in 8 Mile.
Very stately.
That was boss.
Yeah.
Right?
You need a copy of that. I'll play it in the office.
I'll send it out to you. I have a few different versions. I have a country version too, which is very funny. I was so happy to have you guys on here. Super excited to get the opportunity to talk to you guys. To both Linette and Steven here over at Linette Williamson, MD, Integrative Medicine. If you guys wouldn't mind, just take turns, introduce yourselves.
Okay. So my name is Linette Williamson. I am a integrative medicine or functional medicine physician, formerly an emergency medicine physician. I made my big switch. Oh, there's a long story behind the big switch, but one of the biggest things was that I noticed in my emergency medicine career is that their health was declining even at younger ages. And I figured there had to be some other way to approach medicine rather than waiting for this bomb to drop out and you end up in the hospital from things that totally could have been prevented or at least mitigated earlier on if there were different interventions.
Yeah, very good. So, the short version is boy meets girl, girl's an ER doc, boy is a competitive bodybuilder, nutrition guy, and I guess I had a little bit of an effect on her. So we ended up making the whole switch and went a more natural route of medicine. So nowadays it's called integrative functional medicine.
And we were married maybe a couple years, and we went to an integrative medicine conference, the American Academy of Anti-Aging and Regenerative Medicine, and it was in their big annual conference in Las Vegas, and we were blown away, and that's where the journey began. And I started the process of doing what no doctor wants to do, is retraining and recertifying. And while I was still doing ER shifts, which is, I don't recommend that, but taking all these courses and then sitting for another board exam, but it was worth the journey, and I continue to grow in my knowledge and skill set.
Yeah, a lot of people end up here for different reasons, but I mean, it was the second lecture in, I vividly remember, and we just looked at each other and said, we have to do this. So back to school, here we come, and here we are.
That's great. And one of the very few people, certainly that I work with, but even in the industry, that has the MD and emergency room experience, plus having the full breadth of integrative medicine training as well. How are you finding that has shaped your practice?
Quite a bit, actually. I still use both skill sets quite a bit. I do lean more towards my functional tools always. I find that even the functional tools can be applied even in an emergency department setting, although that's not a reality currently. Hopefully sometime in the near future that might be. I do, just an example, COVID, especially the earlier variants where patients were getting quite ill and ending up in the hospital. I was able to help a lot of patients avoid hospitalization just from using both my very conventional tools and also a lot of the integrative tools as well, to help them recover without having to go to the hospital.
talked about most of our new patients, and I think they really appreciate that she understands both sides of the track, I guess you could say, because a lot of patients are honestly exiting Western medicine very quickly, but they still like the comfort to know that she was trained allopathically, even though she's a more alternative, natural approach, functional. Now, of course, I mean, I take these phone calls every day, all day long, and people love the fact that she's got both trainings, you know.
Yeah, yeah. It's very, very rare. I've got two other people within my network that have similar career paths. Did 10 years, 15, 20 years, and just said this is broken.
It's very broken.
Do you have any pivotal moments that you feel shaped that change outside of going to that conference? Like what was the impetus behind even going to the conference?
Just looking for a change, both on a personal level and a professional level. Um, you know, there's doctor burnout is huge, and in the emergency room especially because the shifts are not obviously not the greatest because it's not a 9 to 5 to check in, check out. 10-hour shift really means 12 to 13, that kind of thing. And I knew that in the long game for my career and my overall health and wellness that making a career shift and getting a little bit better hours over a period of time would be definitely very beneficial for myself. But also, I just wanted to go a different route, even more than that, in how I approach patients. And I sometimes I miss some of the heat of the ER because there's some exciting things that happen and some great interventions that are very conventional but still very life saving. But I just wanted to make a big career shift, basically, both professionally and personally.
And I'm assuming that you're very happy that you made that move. Is there any difficulties that you have run into, whether it's within your network or your peer group, that looks at you a different way, or has shunned you in any way, or you felt that you had to act in a particular way in order to maintain some of those relationships?
I haven't noticed that entirely. I know that, in our area here where we are in Encinitas, California, the functional medicine doctor density is a lot higher than other areas of the country. So a lot of the docs around here have already heard of it, even if they don't agree with it. But I haven't had too many confrontations. I do have different opinions on a lot of things, of course. But I haven't had too many face-to-face confrontations. If it's been anything, it's because I have a patient that I'm seeing and I'm treating for certain conditions, and they're also seeing a very conventionally minded primary, and they'll say, "Oh, take this statin, but be careful of that fish oil, that might kill you." That kind of confrontation, and then the patient's stuck in the middle. I once had a patient who was scared off of her B12 supplement because she might get toxic. And she said, so she stopped because the doctor scared her. But then she said, ever since I stopped, my fatigue's been so bad. And so she started again on her own and she felt better. So there's that, like, I guess kind of like that battle in the shadows because it's not face to face, but it's still confrontational nonetheless.
Yeah, and there's just so many misconceptions out there, not only about your industry, but about I try to be in my life personally and professionally rooted as much in like truthfulness as
Yes.
possible. And there's a lot of instances which you just don't you can't 100% identify the objective truth, but I think that there's evidence out there that should shade you in one direction or the other. And I don't want to say misinformation or malinformation, but lack of information, I think, is
Yes.
probably one of the biggest things out there. What would you say to a we'll talk to a prospective patient first that is considering functional medicine, but they feel it's like, quackery. They feel it's too alternative. They feel it's
Yeah.
not the right thing for them because they've always been in the health/sick care system.
Well, I would say that number one, the perception is quite understandable for a number of reasons. For one, just to validate, there are some claims in that particular realm that could be considered questionable, even amongst those of us who do practice functional medicine. But that being said, there is a huge part of the picture missing on the other side too. Both sides have their holes, and that, but the real big part of where conventional medicine lacks is that going down to that root cause, like, why did you have that heart attack or stroke? Was it truly because the cholesterol was high? Was it because you're diabetic or pre-diabetic? Were there some genetic factors involved? The full picture is what really matters, not just the disease, because the disease, like heart attack or even diabetes, they're still just symptoms of really the root cause. And a lot of it has to do with our food supply, most of which is illegal in other countries. A lot of people don't know that you cannot sell our food in the European Union and New Zealand and countries like that, or they have an altered version. The big food companies will have the American version of the product, like cereals, and then they'll have the other country version, which is telling. And that's really the root cause, is the food. And we get no training in nutrition in medical school. I don't remember a single nutrition class. I think I remember one, maybe two lectures on something about nutrition, something or another, but we don't get any training. And I think as physicians, we should be part nutritionist, not to take the job away from actual nutritionists or dietitians, but we should have a very root level understanding of food and its effect on our body. And because a lot of healing can just be from diet changes. I've seen that with patients. I've had an initial visit with patients and made some dietary suggestions, just some suggestions. And on their first follow-up weeks later, when we're looking at labs, they say, ever since I stopped having the gluten, I feel better, like my brain fog's better. I don't get as much of that tummy bloat as I used to. Just very simple, straightforward things like that can make a huge difference in your health.
Yeah, I'm so deep down. I don't have to hide this too much because I put it out there pretty openly. I mean, I'm a pretty big conspiracy theorist. I think that people make decisions based off profit and manipulation
Absolutely.
and power accumulation. Why do you feel that, like, in the medical industry, in the entire healthcare industry, that nutrition has been backburnered and almost I always fall in the line of it's probably intentional, right? Like, there is no healthcare system if people are sick, and if there's no sickness because people are eating well, then you kind of gotta lead them somewhere, right?
Right. Absolutely.
Would you say that? I mean, I don't want to sit here and put words in your mouth, but would you say that there's a motive behind the education of
Yeah.
the medical industry?
Well, absolutely. I think there's a motive. I mean, I leave it up to the individual to decide what the motive is, but I mean, they can't be that, because either they're ignorant to it, which is one possibility, I suppose, but then that's pretty ignorant. So it's hard to argue that case too strongly. But, what is the gain? But the drug industry, the prescription medication industry is a huge multi-billion-dollar industry. There's always new drugs coming out every day. It's hard to keep up. And then there's drugs for side effects of those drugs. For example, psychiatric medications. Some of the psychiatric medications cause a condition called tardive dyskinesia, which has you make these really funky, abnormal movements, and sometimes can be permanent. And it can be disabling for somebody. It can make it hard for them to work. But there's a medication for that now too. things like that. So, I mean, I'm going way off the edge here, but I'm just being honest.
Everybody's seen the commercials.
Yes, they're
If
on
you're watching
it's on the TV. Yeah, it's
Here's
on,
the wonderful drug, and at the tail end, it's 20 seconds
Exactly.
of rapid fire. Here's all the ways it'll kill you.
right. And so, and then, some of the medications can cause the very thing that you're trying to prevent. Like, for example, drugs for osteoporosis, which is low bone density. One of the side effects is a broken hip. Well, isn't that why you're treating osteoporosis? Is so you don't break a hip? So the pill that is supposed to help you not break a hip can make you break a hip. Okay.
It's so interesting that they're in such like a. I mean, it's a field where you have to go to school for 8 years, but the
Mhm.
lack of logic behind so much of it. I mean, I'm just a simple guy over here. I look at some of these things. I'm like, logically, like that just truly doesn't make sense to me. Like to take a pill for the side effects of a pill alone, it kind of blows my mind a little bit. And I'm like, who's the person that's watching this going like, that's right. Like I do need that pill. Like I've gotten to the point where the pharmaceutical commercials, they're so stupid and outlandish to me that I'm like, I don't think that anybody actually like is convinced by them. I feel like they have to pay that to those people so that they get positive coverage, right? So it's like the news anchor doesn't talk about them. It's kind of where I've fallen on it, but it's interesting times. We'll just say
It is.
interesting times.
It is.
What are you seeing right now in like the day to day as far as client interactions that you're noticing kind of in some trends or in some real positive movement and interaction that you've seen in the community health?
I think a lot of people are really starting to realize that there are some holes in their care in the conventional realm with their regular primary care physician. And so I think a lot of, and because of the internet, and people can start reading articles, and they come across web pages and they start reading about things, and they start seeing some of the things that could fill in those gaps. And they start seeking alternative care. Uh, for example, they've been having some joint pain issues, and the medications aren't working. The physical therapy has helped a little bit, but they still have a lot of pain. And then they find something called PRP, or platelet-rich plasma. So they start Googling that, and they show up and they start asking questions about that. And I think that is increasingly happening. And I think it's going to probably crest even more, especially when RFK Jr. starts really talking about some of these modalities more openly. And then also, there are more sources online, just even podcasts like this, where people are talking about this sort of approach to medicine, just like even Joe Rogan. He's made people very aware of a lot of alternatives, and sometimes even criticized for even talking about what he's talking about. Um, but I kind of enjoy it. I love when people come in and they ask questions, and just really are trying to really understand their condition better and understand the solution.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
that's
take
great.
phone calls all day long, Paul. I speak to almost all of our new patients. My phone rings every day. And the general majority of patients are looking for something because in Western medicine, they're taking 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 medications, and they're still the same as they were 10 years ago. They're not better. If anything, they're worse. And we've talked about side effects. They're skeptical, they're searching,
Mhm.
but they don't like where they are, and they are definitely searching for something better. Other than that, I would just say, I'm kind of old school. We have a saying called "the proof is in the pudding," and when people stop putting toxins in their body and start eating real food, they get a little exercise. Maybe the doc balances their hormones and neurotransmitters, and we talk about things like sleep and stress. All that wild stuff. people get better. And so, I mean, I think that's one of the most rewarding things is getting to be a small part of what happens here every day. But that's kind of the average patient. That's what we hear every day.
Yeah, and one thing I've always found fascinating about you guys, I mean, we've known each other for probably like 3-4 years now, ish, is you guys are constantly introducing new technology, new modalities, new kind of some cutting edge pieces. I always enjoy whenever you send me over something and I'm like, oh, like, what is this? What is this EVO machine? What is this? It's fascinating because I get the education just in getting to interact with you. Tell me about where you see this technology coming. So I guess tell me two parts. One, what you're super excited about right now as far as the new tech that you've already started employing. And two, kind of where you see this going. Where do you see the future of functional medicine from a tech side?
From a tech side, I think that modalities like ozone and PRP and other regenerative therapies like stem cells, exosomes are going to just explode. One of the things I'm excited about is actually introducing a form. We just introduced a form of ozone, blood ozonation called EBU. What ozone is it's oxygen. It's 3 oxygen atoms together, so it's a reactive form of oxygen. It's the same as the ozone in our atmosphere. And ozone therapy actually is as old as the ages, practically. Ozone therapy was introduced in about 1840 to sterilize equipment. So it's not this newfangled thing that we just found out about. It's actually been around a really long time. And there's well over 3,000, probably close to 4,000 or more published studies on ozonotherapy in medicine in different modalities. Blood ozonation. There's also, you can inject it in joints to help with pain and inflammation and help repair cartilage and ligaments. But what EBU is it stands for extracorporeal, meaning outside the body, blood ozonation and oxygenation. And what we do is it's a continuous circuit where we have actually an IV in each arm, and the blood is coming out one arm and going through what's called a dialysis filter where it's come into contact with the ozonated oxygen, and then it's coming back oxygenated and ozonated into the other arm. And it's just this continuous loop for about an hour. And it's so extraordinary. This procedure is so extraordinary. It can help with like chronic infections like Lyme or Epstein-Barr, the monovirus. It can help with actually, anyone dealing with spike protein issues from COVID, like long COVID. It can help with mold toxicity. Mold is a big thing. So that's something else that I've been learning a lot about is mold and how to help people recover from mold exposure. The list goes on, but it just helps super oxygenate the blood and which also helps with detox too, because we are very toxic from our increasingly toxic world. And by increasing the mitochondrial function, which is part of what ozone does, the mitochondria, the powerhouse inside the cell, that helps a lot with the immune function, but also our detox processes as well.
That's crazy. You're seeing incredible. How long have you been using this?
Just recently started doing that part of it, but I did the training back in September. Yes, with my ozone guru, Dr. Robert Rowan. He's amazing, ozone doc, and I've had some really great mentors. Dr. Frank Schallenberger is another ozone guru that I've studied under as well. But there's another form of ozone that I've been doing for a very long time. It's called 10-pass ozone or hyperbaric ozone, where just one IV, and by negative pressure, we pull out about 200 cc's of your blood into a glass vial. and infuse ozonated oxygen into it, and then infuse it back into the body under pressure. And that one up and down exchange is called a pass. And you do that 10 times, and that's hence called a 10 pass. Great results with that. In fact, sometimes people notice an uptick in energy, and you can use it to help, again, like with chronic infections like Lyme, mold toxicity, Epstein-Barr, the monovirus, and the list goes on. But it's actually a great procedure.
Is this something that so we would look to do preventatively? Is this just to address like the root cause of a symptom, or how should people look at a tech like that?
Well, both. I mean, we've had people who have done a lot of research and reading, and they'll call up and just say, hey, I just want to do this to optimize my health. Other times people are trying to cure something like Lyme or Epstein-Barr reactivation. Also, or injuries, and they're trying to enhance their health, their whole body health. So
autoimmune disease,
yes.
which is rampant, just broad spectrum, It's also been an amazing healer of COVID, the virus, not just COVID, but long haul COVID. And of course, now we're treating many, many vaccine injuries. It's not really a popular subject, but we're seeing a lot of it.
Wait a minute, people were injured by the vaccine? What are you talking?
Yes.
I like the under the breath. Yes.
Absolutely. Yes. 20-year-olds don't always have strokes. So
Yeah.
So but and I know that's a hot topic, but yes, I have seen people that have had clear reactions immediately, sometimes even immediately following those injections. So, but it's not very well recognized by the general medical community openly. But in the sake of just being honest, a lot of people will say, well, how do you know it was the shot? And like, well, the person was fine. They got the shot. They're not fine. And many other people of the similar age or profile, the same thing happened. They were fine, got the shot, not fine. It's cognitive dissonance to not at least entertain the possibility of a connection.
We don't ask questions here. You're not allowed.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to wonder or contemplate
Right.
different possible causes. I say that in jest because it's like one of my true joys in working with a lot of functional medicine doctors is that they are inquisitive, they're curious, and they all seem to something that we have in common too is we have a relationship with God.
Right.
I find that so many functional medicine doctors kind of have it's a better understanding of the body as a temple, right? This is a gift what we're able to run around. My wife gets mad at me when I say meat body, but I just mean that in the in the general sense, right? We are soul and a body. And understanding that we should be taking care of this thing, and the less foreign things that you drop into it, God made us wonderful. He made us to heal. He made us like in that sense. How do you find your faith, your outlook on we'll say more ethereal things than just what you can observe impacts how you treat patients and how you run your practice?
Well, yeah, that's a great question. It impacts it in many different ways. One, we are fearfully and wonderfully made, and so we have innate capabilities to heal ourselves, and a lot of functional medicine modalities actually tap into that natural God-given chemistry to right a wrong that's going on in our body, so to speak. And then also, in terms of the mind, body, spirit, I see so many people that and it's a lot of people, if not most, there's some sort of spiritual or mental or emotional hiccup in terms of their healing as well. And so I do refer people to counseling quite a bit, because even though they're literally feeling physical symptoms, there's a huge part of it that's in the mind. Not that they're not the traditional, oh, it's all in your head, go take a Prozac. But but if your mind is not, if your soul and your spirit and your mind aren't healed, it's hard for your rest of the body to receive all those healing signals that you're trying to send in. And so you have to take care of everything, the whole thing, not just focus on the physical symptoms, but also what's kind of hiding inside.
So, major distinction between Western medicine and integrative medicine is, for years, allopathic medicine just looked at the body and really dismissed the power of the mind, emotions, and the spirit. And one of the hallmarks of integrative medicine is we're not only treating the individual, because everyone is unique, but we're looking at their body, their mind, and their spirit.
Yeah.
Because a sick heart can make the body sick. I mean, we even have CPT codes for that now. And
yes.
Even Western medicine is beginning to have to realize that. And so it really is quite complex. And so we would just say, and one of the phrases that Jesus used a lot that I love is, do you want to be made whole? Mm-hmm. He'd be talking to a sick person. And what he really meant by that is, do you want to be healed, mind, body, and spirit? Do you want to be made whole? And it's a wonderful phrase. And so we're really seeking to bring the whole person into balance.
Absolutely.
And like I said, proof is in the pudding. When you see people getting better, it's an amazing blessing to be a part of that.
And then some people, they're not ready to get better. And it's hard to see that sometimes, because you're like, well, if you can just do these things, but they're not ready. So we have to kind of hold ourselves, steel ourselves, and not pressure them to do something they're not ready to do, even though we know it's good for them. And so it's always important to have that filter.
Yeah, I can't wait for the day when it's like read 2 Psalms and go walk in the woods. That's the prescription you get. 2 Psalms, take a walk.
Yes, that's right. Get some sunlight.
Yeah, because that kind of pulls me into something else. Like I'm a supplementation junkie. I dabble in lots of things. Mostly because I feel like it impacts everybody a little bit different. I've been taking vitamin D consistently throughout most of my adult life, and I think that's like one of the things that truly keeps me very, we'll say, my immune system is strong. We'll say, and that's often what I chalk it up to, is a lot of vitamin D, a lot of being outside. I also have children, so I'm constantly running around outside. Could you talk about some of the lifestyle changes that you think, one, more functional medicine doctors should be talking about, and 2, something that people could just start working into their day, to just change their lives?
Well, I think one of the lifestyle changes is something that I'm working on even for my own personal lifestyle, is finding time to just be still. And you can meditate, you can pray, or you can just sit and just rest. Rest is one of the best healers out there. And then also in that vein is finding some things that are positive for you to do, like some sort of hobby or some sort of something that you like, that kind of takes you away from the stresses of the world, because stress is a huge mitigator of disease. And so something that can really truly help you unplug, even for just a little bit on a regular basis, can really go a long way.
We call that turning the switch off.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you find yourself having these types of conversations with patients?
I do. And It's kind of an interesting conversation to go into with them. But yeah, fine, because we're just such a stressed out culture. Everybody's stressed. I got this, I got that, and then the kids, this, that, the other, and then my boss. Oh my gosh. And so it's hard to say, okay, I'm going to find the time to do this, and I have that struggle too. So it's something that a struggle that I share with my patients, that it's really hard to just find that time for that self-care, even just little bits of time, because our world there's something that'll just kind of snatch it away. So you kind of have to protect it, in a manner of speaking.
That's what Jesus does say. Also, protect your mind.
Yes.
Protect your mind. So that means I could go to the wife and tell her I need to play more video games, right? That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, there you go. I'll write a prescription for you. More video games.
I had
Let's play
my
one video game a day.
yes, my I grew up. I'm one of 6 kids, so I had some older brothers. So I was always playing video games against them, playing sports against them, and everything like that. And they're both still more into games and things like that because their kids are getting a little older. My kids are young, and so my one brother was asking me, "Oh, play any good video games lately?" And I was like, "Do I even know what a video game looks like right now? Like I can't even remember. I don't even know the last time I got to play something. I'm waiting for the 3-year-old to get up to the age where we can at least start getting some Mario in or something like that, so I can at least start playing something with them, right? So that brings us to you guys. What do you guys use in your personal life? What things outside of running a business that you guys are able to escape into and you find recharges you and really you enjoy doing?
Well, we really enjoy working out. In fact, in our house, the first thing you see when you walk through the door is a gym. We turned the living room into a gym. It's a little odd, I guess, but you'll see like the dual pulley rack up there, and a couple racks of weights and some miscellaneous equipment. But we like it. It's a good motivator to get in there because you're staring at it too. It's like right there is staring at me. When you go to the gym, it's easier to ignore it because it's on the other side of town. So, but when you walk downstairs and you're staring at it, it's right there. So,
That's great.
but then we also like doing things like going to the beach. I love being in the water, like bodyboarding, surfing, badly surfing, but surfing. And then also martial arts. We love martial arts. When we're doing that, like for me, when I'm in that session, the whole world seems to disappear each time, unintentionally too. It's like it's not like I go in and I'm going to forget everything. I just get drawn in, and then it's over, and that's really a good feeling.
What type of martial arts are you guys doing?
American Kempo.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
No, that's great. The building that I work in I share it with New Breed BJJ. So
Oh, yeah.
he runs Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu tournaments all across the East Coast. So yeah, we share buildings together. He's got some amazing stuff. So if you guys need some workout gear, you let me know. With that, that's all. Steven, is there anything that you want to add to this? I mean, we got Linette talking about what she likes doing outside here. You're a former bodybuilder, or former bodybuilder, right? So
Yes, he's got trophies.
we've got trophies.
I'm just an old guy trying to stay in shape nowadays, but yeah. It's kind of nice. We actually work together. I run the office. I'm actually what I really, my first love is, I'm a certified functional medicine health and wellness coach, a life coach. So my biggest joy is helping other people make these lifestyle changes that we're talking about and getting to see them grow, physically, be the best version of themselves. So, that's what I love to do. I am temporarily serving as practice administrator, so I kind of get to see the other side too. Yeah, I mean, that's what does it for me. And being active biohackers and just, we don't just do this, we don't just talk about this stuff. We're doing it every day. So I love to cook. I like to think of myself as a gourmet. organic cook. And so, I mean, it's a lot of fun. And so, I always say it feels good to feel good. But in the big picture, I think it's, again, a blessing to be part of something bigger than ourselves. And in America right now, 70-80% of America is really sick.
Yes.
And
And
overweight.
getting sicker.
And as a matter of fact, we were just talking this morning. One of the cool things that's happening with administration change and make America healthy again is we can perhaps, see a day when insurance will cover what we do. And so one of the biggest heartaches that we see every day is someone that's wanting to break out of allopathic medicine, but they can't because they can't afford it. I mean, a lot of times it's because, they're spending all their money on, car payments and Starbucks. That's true. But a lot of people really sick want to get better and can't afford it. So it would be an amazing dream to see that happen in our lifetime where everybody could have access to integrative medicine.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I've been blessed to be part of your guys' journey in growing your own practice here, and a lot of our listeners on this are fellow functional medicine doctors. So I'd love for you guys to get into what this journey has been like for you, because you came from being part of another practice and breaking off and doing your own thing. You are a husband-wife team running a practice. I think you guys have a lot of really cool, unique things about running a practice that I think people could really take a lot from. We've commiserated together about how running a business in the US in 2024, 2025 is not the most fun thing.
A lot of trial and error, believe me.
Yeah.
A lot of what not to do.
I think one of the biggest challenges with running a business, and I know you'll agree, hiring a really good team so you can do what you do best. You know, and that, I think that's been one of our biggest challenges, is getting a really, really good team. We've had some bad teams in the past, and in terms of office help, we've got a really good team now. We feel like you're part of it, actually, but we've got a really great team going. But it took some time, wouldn't you say? Yeah. And but also it's just learning. It's trial and error in learning. But one of the things that I found is that finding help that has some sort of passion for excellence, and people who have pride in their work, but also have at least an interest or an investment in the type of medicine that we practice too, because they'll be much more of an asset that way, because they understand what you're trying to accomplish, and also that helps them motivate to want to actually be an asset.
Yeah, that's a great point. Plus, I can only imagine having, say, like a receptionist that doesn't fully believe in what you're doing. They get asked questions too. You got to be sure that alignment's there.
Right. And patients ask them questions, and they're not going to have all the answers because they're not the doc, but having just at least a basic understanding of things, and that grows. I mean, when they first start, they're pretty clueless about a lot of things, but if they're attentive and listen and ask questions, which our guys ask us questions all the time, they get to be pretty smart at it and start to see things too. So, yeah.
Is there anything that you do in your operations and hiring process that ensures that alignment is there?
Oh, yes, actually, we have you want to talk about it?
Yeah, I mean, we have a couple of coaches that help us through that. We work really hard to engage every couple of months to make sure they're growing, to make sure that they're satisfied, that they're being challenged. We have weekly meetings where the whole team meets together. That's extremely helpful. Just keep the communication line open. It's a learning time. It's so things like that, I think. And then, one of the cool things that happens is that when they start seeing, functional medicine, they want to start partaking a bit. And so they're on their own health journey getting better. And that's when you really see, something ignite. And now they can't wait to talk about it. And that's who you want talking to your patients, right?
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So with you mentioned MAHA earlier. We're all in this MAHA boat together. With everything that's happening right now, how do you guys feel about the future of functional medicine?
I'm pretty optimistic. I think that more and more people are going to start hearing about these alternative approach to their health. I'm excited to hear people hear just even about the food, because if we could fix the food, a lot of these problems would kind of melt away gradually through the generations. The cancer risk is an all-time high. When I was in medical school in the 90s, a woman that was 50 years old, that's my age group, 52, with breast cancer would be considered a very young breast cancer patient. Now that's like, back that up 20 years even. You have women that are in their 30s and certainly in their 40s. You don't think much of it anymore. And the only thing I can think of that has changed that would make that a big difference is our food supply, because we're more and more ultra processed foods, toxic estrogens. So many of the toxins in the foods are toxic estrogens, like parabens and phthalates, stimulating all those estrogen receptors in our body. So, I mean, that's just one example, but yeah, I'm pretty optimistic about that people are going to start being clued in on that and being able to make better decisions for themselves.
And I would add a
I'm
couple of toxins in there.
please.
I think we're going to see the current administration take a little closer look at, the connection between the FDA and big pharma and start asking some of those questions, just basic questions about healthcare in general. Because I think we're at a time where everybody agrees that it's pretty crappy. And so something good could come from that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, do you feel that it's going to have to be destroyed before it's brought back up, or do you think it could be fixed?
You know, I
I think the intent is to burn it to the ground,
yeah,
honestly.
I don't know how it's like a yeast, like, if you're making a batch of bread and you put too much yeast in it, you can't take it out. You just got to start over with a new batch. We need to start over with a new batch.
There you go. There's the bread analogy.
I know. Oh, you guys making
Gluten-free
sourdough
bread.
yet?
Gluten free, of course.
Yeah, I tend to follow similar feeling. I don't know that it could be fixed. I don't know that. I feel like there's just maybe too many hands in the cookie jar. It might be time to just push the whole cookie jar off the counter and
No.
figure out what's next. So if you could give like what are the first three things that you're hoping to see? We'll say in society that'll improve people's lives and and how it is related to functional medicine.
First three things. What would you say? Food.
Yeah, I mean, I would just simply say, we have 5 golden pillars in functional medicine. What we say is that these 5 golden pillars hold up everything that we say and do here every day. Number one is toxicity. Whatever you can do to be more aware of the toxins that are going in your body every day, and we're all on that journey. Hydrate well, sweat a little bit every day, do some exercise, get in a sauna if you can. Be aware of how toxic not just our environment, but our food is and all these things. That would be number one. Number two would be eat real food and optimal nutrition. Number three, we were made to move. So have some exercise, have some kind of something going. Do a little bit every day. And I mean, get some good sleep, learn how to sleep, stress. Those things alone, we often say that, functional medicine is 90 to 95% lifestyle oriented. So what we do all day long here is educate patients and encourage them to make these simple lifestyle changes. And it's amazing what happens. And so those are some things that any of us can do. Doesn't even cost that much money. I mean, you have to eat anyway.
It's true. Are you guys
Yeah.
farmers market people? We see Saturday mornings over at the farmers market.
Yeah. And it's a little, I mean, a lot of people will say, well, I can't afford to eat healthy. And I mean, I get where they're coming from. When you really look at your food, when you really micro scrutinize a typical food bill, like a box of cereal is very expensive these days. It's like, I don't know, I think it's like $6 or $7 or $5, $6 now. And, but you can get some produce, a good amount of produce for that amount of money. And even if it's not organic and you just wash it really well, but I find even organic produce is not quite as costly as it has been in the past, mainly because of public education through the years. Some people are choosing organic more, so I have noticed a drop in the price. But and then quality protein. If anybody put their money into their food, the quality protein would be the best, the biggest priority.
The irony here, the sarcastic humor, if you will, is we have patients all the time say, hey, they put all these chemicals in the food I'm buying, and it's cheaper than if I just buy the real food. I mean,
Yeah.
something's wrong with that picture.
It's cheaper to buy a steak from a cow that was shoved full of hormones and antibiotics and fed grains contaminated with mold toxins, and pesticides. But a cow that's fed on grass organically, and pastured and roaming instead of standing in their own feces in a stall, then that's more expensive. But there are online companies too that actually will deliver quality regenerative protein. And that's why I say if you're really on a tight budget, truly focus on the quality protein first. Get some good meat coming in. But I find if people redirect to some of their, like the daily Starbucks habit, what does a Starbucks cost these days? Like $6, $7 a cup or something like that for your Americano or macchiato or whatever it is. And if you just stop that, that would be actually your protein budget right there. So it's about just redirecting how we're thinking, which can increase our ability to afford some of these things that seem unattainable.
Yeah. Another idea for a podcast someday, take a deep dive into the food industry, and it's pretty scary.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean I've watched anything from Cowspiracy and there's a whole bunch of, if you guys have any great books or documentary recommendations, that's one thing I always put down in the notes too.
Well, there was a video, it's rather old. It was on Netflix, called Food Matters. And it's been a long time since I've seen that video, but there's one phrase that the commentator throughout the whole documentary said, and this is a bit of a paraphrase, but I think he was spot on. He said, people put more thought into things like what kind of car they're going to buy. They'll do all this research and test drive a bunch of different vehicles and do side by side comparisons and everything. And they put all this thought into it, but they don't put that same level of thought into the food that they're putting into their body, that you're stuck with your body. You can always trade out your car, but you can't just go, oh, this body's trashed, I'll just go get another one. So that was the basic sentiment of what this man said, and that stuck with me. It sticks with me, really, because it's very true.
Very much so. At least not yet. Not till Elon starts developing something to transfer your
Yeah.
consciousness into the new body. Someday.
Or maybe another one is just do a little research someday on who owns the food companies. Who owns 80% of the food companies
Yeah,
nowadays?
Philip Morris in the 80s.
It's it's the
You could,
tobacco companies
and
that
they got
had us
pressure.
addicted to cigarettes, and now they found a way to addict us to ultra processed food. So it's not a it's an easy trail to follow, not
Yeah.
complicated.
That makes me think of the you have some of the largest manufacturers of pesticides that cause diseases, also owned by the same companies that provide the pharmaceutical to mitigate the symptoms of the disease, all owned
Yep.
by the same company, right? It's like full circle. It's like it's the horrible Lion King circle of life on that one. It's like we get
Yes.
you sick, we cure you. Well, we mask your symptoms, we don't cure you. We mask your symptoms so that we can push you to the next thing. One of the questions I love asking, and I don't want to keep you guys too long here, but I'm truly enjoying talking to you. But is what is some advice that you would give to another functional medicine practice that's just opening up?
Oh, uh, that's there's a lot there. That's a lot to unpack. Because we've been doing this for like over 15 years. So, but is I think the biggest advice is to um, take small bites at a time and try not to expand too quickly. Um, find an initial niche and work that niche very well, and then just gradually expand upon it to your comfort and your desire level. Because the biggest issue with running a business in general, but certainly a medical practice, is having way too large of an overhead, or where it becomes very difficult and stressful to support what you are bringing, with what you're bringing in, basically.
Yeah.
So start small and just grow very slow.
Yeah, I mean, a fun statistic is, and you may not know this, or you may, 80 to 85% of functional medicine doctors went there out of desperation because a loved one, a family member, a son or a daughter got sick, and they just went deep dive into the research, and their passion, their love for that family member took them. And that's how they developed, and they became very good at what they do. And, we're part of the 15%. We just did it out of inspiration. However, to say that certain family members getting sick along the way didn't change the course of, what the doc went after, like regenerative medicine was huge, and that's a whole nother story. But it's either inspiration or desperation, as they say. But it's kind of interesting to me that that's how these doctors evolve. So that's interesting.
Yeah, yeah. I never would never really thought about it that way. I talk with a lot of functional medicine doctors, and a lot of it is, I saw the system was broken, and I wanted to be part of the solution, or be part of offering the alternative. I should ask about the family members or loved ones impacted by it, because that's also how I found functional medicine. I was going to the VA for Lyme disease, was misdiagnosed with Lyme disease, or they didn't diagnose me with Lyme disease for about 2 years. And so I was living with, what they thought was fibromyalgia, because I had these balls in my feet, and I was getting some blotchy skin, and I couldn't figure out what it was. Just finally I went to a functional medicine doctor, and it was like, here, let's change up this part of your diet. Let's change up this. Take this little supplementation. And, 3, 4 months later, I went through 2 years of my life where it was pretty rough. Just trying to figure it out. And it was until and then of course I met my wife, who's full crunchy mom now that she's not working. She's baking bread. We've got a meat guy, we got an egg guy, we've got a cheese guy, a milk and cheese guy. So we don't even venture into the center of the grocery store anymore. Hit the
Yeah.
outsides. She cooks every single meal, so I get yelled at if I ever.
Sounds like you guys are animal based.
Yes, very much so. Very much so. I mean, we got the garden. We do still lots of vegetables, but also I'm a meat eater. I like my steak. We had to buy an extra fridge for the garage just for all the meat that she was buying. So we're at that level.
That's awesome.
Last thing is just how can people connect with you? Whether it's other functional medicine doctors wanted to, have you in the network, especially with some of the specialties that you guys have with some of those technologies, and people in the Encinitas area. And you guys are also going to be offering much more telemedicine coming up, with broadening your reach across the entire U.S. Why don't you tell people where they can find you and how they can get in touch with you?
Yeah, opening up an office in Florida very soon. So we're excited about that. But yeah, LinetteWilliamsonMD.com or email info@LinetteWilliamsonMD.com, and we'd be happy to meet you.
It's great. Yeah, on all the socials, could just search you. You'll show up. Is there anything last that the guys would like to leave the audience with, or be sure we covered?
No, I just thank you for the opportunity. We're excited about the direction it's going.
Yeah.
Cautiously optimistic that we're heading for a better place.
And eat
That's
good
great.
food.
Yeah, hang on. You got to say that one separate, so I don't step over top of it. Say, eat good food.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, guys. I appreciate you, and I will talk to you soon. Please just stay. That's awesome. I love getting to interact with you guys. But I'm gonna hit stop here. Stay on for a second, because the one thing you'll notice. God bless, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe.